Hare Krishna, we continue reading from Beyond Birth and Death by Srila Prabhupada. We are on chapter 4. From the Bhagavad Gita, we have to accept that there is a spiritual universe, which is the kingdom of God. So yesterday we were reading that Krishna, in so many places in the Bhagavad Gita, is speaking about his abode, his planet, the spiritual world. And he's keeping on saying, once who comes there never has to come back to this material world again, does not have to take birth again in this material world. So there is a spiritual kingdom. Krishna is saying there is. Prabhupada also points out that we put our faith in so many different things. We are putting our faith when we go out. We are putting our faith even when we are buying anything. We are putting our faith in so many things. So why not also put our faith in Krishna's words to what he's saying? Krishna is the highest authority, and he's saying that I am God and I have this eternal abode. Come there. So if somehow we are transported to a country where we are informed that we will no longer have to undergo birth, old age, disease, and death, will we not be happy? If we heard of such a place, surely we would try as hard as possible to go there. Imagine if really on this planet there's a country. Oh, you go stay there, you don't have to become old. You will not have any disease. You don't have to die. And then because you're not going to die, you don't have a birth. So I'm sure all of us, or a lot of us, would want to go there. Really try our best to go there. No one wants to grow old. No one wants to die. Indeed, a place free of such sufferings would be a heart's desire. Imagine if you could just apply a visa and go there. And say, sure, why not, right? That'll be so good. Why do we want this? Because we have the right, the prerogative to want it. In our experience, we are seeing people in front of us or even ourselves. We are getting old, we are getting diseased. In front of us, we are seeing people being born, people dying. But yet we have this desire, this very strong desire. I don't want to get old. I don't want to get diseased. Why should I die? Why do we have this? Because it is our right to be having this desire. Why? Because we are eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. We are the soul. We are not the body. The soul is Sat Chit Ananda. But having been covered by this material entanglement, we have forgotten ourselves. Right now we are just thinking we are the body, completely forgotten that we are Satchidananda. We are the soul. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita gives us the advantage of being able to revive our original status. The Shankarites and the Buddhists claim that the world beyond is void, but the Bhagavad Gita does not disappoint like us. The philosophy of voidness has simply created atheists. There are some philosophies which say, oh, after death, there's nothing. So then that causes nothing. So why am I endeavoring so much hassle, so much energy being put into in everyday life for what? Just for nothing? I mean, it seems like a sheer waste of time, no? So it gives a lot of disappointment. It takes away our faith from God, makes us atheists. But what's our reality? We are spiritual beings and we want enjoyment. But as soon as our future is void, we will become inclined to enjoy this material life. We want enjoyment. We cannot deny it. Anando Mayobhyasat. We are seeking enjoyment. That's the nature of the soul, to be always happy. And if we do not have information of the spiritual world, then the only thing we know is the material world. We will want to enjoy in the material world. Just as the water, we cannot stop it from flowing. So the nature of the soul is Satchidananda, Anandamaya Bhyasa. It cannot stop the soul from seeking enjoyment. In this way, the impersonalists discuss the philosophy of voidism while trying as much as possible to enjoy this material life. One may enjoy speculation in this way, but there is no spiritual benefit. Even in mental speculation, there is enjoyment, no? When we are imagining, we are putting some philosophy, speculating about it, there is some sort of enjoyment in there. That's the reason we are doing it. Otherwise, why would we do it? But of course, there is no spiritual benefit to mental speculation. It's just a speculation. It's just uh, uh, speculation is something that's not true, right? It's just speculating. May or may not. What's happening? I'm not sure. Brahmabhuta prasanatma na shochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Gita 18:54. So Krishna is saying this in chapter 18, text 54 of Bhagavad Gita, that one who is situated on the Brahman platform, he na shochati na kankshati, never lamenting, nor does he have any material desire, because he's already realized, I am Brahman. He realizes I'm the spirit soul. And so he sama sarveshu bhuteshu. He is seeing everyone as soul, so he's equal to everyone. And at that point begins pure devotional service. So for a devotee, real life begins from the point of liberation. That is the beginning of real life, not the end of life. Many may think that liberation is the end, is nothing there after liberation. But here Krishna is very clearly saying in chapter 18, text 54, no, once after you're liberated, at that point begins real life, pure devotional service. Mad bhaktim labhate param. He who has progressed in devotional life and who is relishing service to Krishna will automatically become detached from material enjoyment. The symptom of one absorbed in bhakti is that he is fully satisfied with Krishna. We are trying to seek pleasure everywhere else except being with Krishna. Whereas Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. All pleasure begins from Krishna, comes from Krishna. And we are seeking that pleasure, eternal pleasure. We are seeking a pleasure that we can experience not only for half an hour or 1 hour. We want eternally to feel that pleasure. And that pleasure, the devotees have found it. The pure devotee. He's fully satisfied being in Krishna consciousness. That's the reason he's not looking anywhere else. He's blissfully engaging in his devotional service. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, that susukham kartam avyayam, devotional service is joyfully performed. Because the devotee is in relationship with Krishna, he's joyful, he's very happy. So we are seeking for this joy, but we are seeking it in the material world. But actually, this joy is when we engage ourselves in devotional service. Are there any questions or comments? No?
So the
Yes.
Brahma platform also means that you are not this body, right? Is the realization, na? That you are not this body, you are spirit soul,
That's
part and
right.
parcel of Krishna, correct?
That's right. Yes. That's the liberation, platform of liberation. Completely understand. I'm not the body. I'm the spirit soul. Yes. And from this point, Krishna says that you begin pure devotional service. Mad bhaktim labhate param. So for a devotee, real life begins from the point of liberation. It's the beginning of real life. Liberation is not the end, but liberation is the beginning of reality. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, chapter 5, associating with Krishna. If one gets something superior, he naturally gives up all inferior things. We can see that, if we get a tastier something, then we don't want to eat something which is not so tasty, isn't it? We get some real valuable jewels, then we do not want the imitation jewels. Like that. We want always better, better, better things. We want enjoyment. We are trying to deny ourselves of enjoyment. We are thinking no enjoyment means for the body, but not understanding the body is dead. A dead body cannot enjoy, right? So how come this? Who was it that was seeking enjoyment? The dead body is lying, cannot move. So it's the soul that is actually seeking enjoyment. The soul is anandamaya abhyasa. We want enjoyment, but impersonalism and voidism have created such an atmosphere that we have become addicted to material enjoyment. Why? Because the idea put forward is there's nothing after you die. Everything is zero. There's nothing there. Or, it's just like Om Shanti Shanti, nothing, no variety, nothing. So then, but we want to enjoy. So what do? Let me enjoy here till the time I'm here in the material world. Because we are not having any knowledge of the spiritual enjoyment. There must be enjoyment in connection with the Supreme Person, Purusha Sapara, whom we can see face to face. We cannot stop this innate desire to enjoy. We may try very hard, but it's the nature of the soul. So in the spiritual sky, we are able to speak personally with God, play with Him, eat with Him, etc. All of this can be attained by bhaktya, transcendental loving service. So Krishna is there. Krishna is there in the spiritual sky. We can see Him face to face. Krishna in his Shyam Sundar form or in his various Narayan expansions, it's Lord Ramachandra. There's so many expansions of Krishna. So over there, we can go there. We can speak to God, play with Him, eat with Him. All this can be attained by bhaktya, transcendental loving service. However, the service must be without adulteration. That is to say, we must love God without expecting material remuneration. Loving God to become one with Him is also a form of adulteration. So we need to revive our love of Krishna. When we revive our love of Krishna, then we are with Krishna. We can be with Him face to face, see Him, play with Him, eat with Him, have a loving relationship with Him. So what is this? The service must be without adulteration. So how can we go to the spiritual world, have this intimate loving relationship with Krishna? That we must engage in bhaktya, transcendental loving service. Now what? The service must be without adulteration. What is that? Means without any material desire. Not that, oh, I want to have a relationship with Krishna so I can become so great or I will be so much worshipped. We have this innate desire for worship. We want to be great. That's the reason we are here in the material world. So, but the more we hear and chant, we are able to give up those desires because we are being with Krishna then. The holy name is Krishna. Now, becoming God or wanting to become one with God is also kind of a material desire. Because again, that ego is there, that I'm great, or right now I'm not great, but I'm going to become great. So the false ego still is there. And that's why it is still not on the pure platform. One of the major differences between the spiritual sky and the material sky is that in the spiritual sky, the head or leader of the spiritual planets has no rival. In all cases, the predominating personality in the spiritual planets is a plenary expansion of Sri Krishna. So here in the material world also we have a predominating deity of every planet. The Mother Bhumi, we have the Mother Bhumi of this earth, right? Then we have the sun god, the moon god. This earth was also ruled by Bharat Maharaj at one time, so that's why it's called Bharatvarsh. Like that, every planet has a ruler. So in the spiritual world also, every planet has a ruler. But what happens in the material world, the ruler of the planet, his position is not very secure. Like the king of heaven, that is Indradev, even his position is not secure. Demons come and fight him, they throw him out of his kingdom. So there's a rivalry going on. But in the spiritual world, there's nothing like that. All the 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 deities of the planets, all the rulers, the leaders of those spiritual planets is an expansion of Krishna. It's Narayan. The Supreme Lord and his multifarious manifestations preside over all the Vaikuntha planets. On earth, for instance, there's rivalry for the position of a president or prime minister. But in the spiritual sky, everyone acknowledges the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be supreme. Here we are, each of us fighting, I'm supreme, I'm better, I'm better, I'm better. That is what is our position here. But in the spiritual world, everyone knows God is supreme. There's no one more supreme than him. Acknowledges the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who do not acknowledge him and attempt to rival him are placed into the material universe, which is just like a prison. So here we come to the point that why we are here in the material world. Because we have this desire, I want to be great, I'm better than you, I'm supreme. Krishna is not supreme. Why is God? Krishna is not God. I'm God. I can become God now. I can become God later. So because we have a lot of these ideas, we are put here in this material world. This is a prison for us. Why is a prisoner put in the prison? So the prisoner can get reformed, can give up the bad habit. So that's the reason we are put here in the material world, because of this rivalry. Because in Vaikuntha, there is no rivalry. No rivalry. Everyone understands Krishna is God, or whoever they are on a particular planet with Lord Narayan, who has a particular name. They understand he's God. That's it. They're not trying to become God. As in any city, there is a prison, and the prison forms a very insignificant part of the whole city. So the material universe is a prison for the conditioned souls. It forms an insignificant part of the spiritual sky, but it is not outside the spiritual sky, just as a prison is not outside of the city. So this entire material creation, entire, the whole material world is so big for us. We don't even know how big is our universe, what to speak of so many other universes. Now, all this is a prison. Not only our Earth planet, but all the entire material world is a prison. So Prabhupada is explaining to us, we have this country, Taiwan. In this Taiwan country, we have a prison. So it's not that the whole country is the prison. No, there is a small portion of the country with which there is a prison where prisoners are put in. And the prison is in this country of Taiwan. It's not that it's outside the country. Similarly, this whole material creation, which is the prison house, is also situated in the spiritual sky. It is also situated on the Brahma Jyoti. It's not outside the Brahmajyoti, just as the prison is not outside of the city. Is this okay? Is this clear at this point?
Yes.
Yeah. So the material world is also in the Brahmajyoti. Just an insignificant part. The major part is the spiritual world. The material world is very small. The inhabitants of the Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky are all liberated souls. So here, like here in this material world, we are conditioned souls, nitya bhadas. We are eternally conditioned. In the spiritual world, all the liberated souls are there. The liberated souls, the pure souls. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we are informed that their bodily features are exactly like God's. On some of these planets, God is manifested with 2 arms, and on others, he has 4. The inhabitants of these planets, like the Supreme Lord, also manifest 2 arms and 4 arms. And it is said that one cannot distinguish between them and the Supreme Person. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, we got that description of Vaikuntha, where the 4 Kumaras entered Vaikuntha. And we were able to understand, that uh, Lord Narayan is there, and Jai Vijay is also there, and they're all having 4 arms. Everyone over there, they were having 4 arms, and they looked like Lord Narayan. The only difference was the Srivatsa, the mark on the chest of Narayan, the mark of Lakshmi Devi, and the Kaustuba jewel. Otherwise, they're dressed like him. They have they have the same clothes, the same features, And on some planets, God has 2 arms, some planets he has 4 arms, and the inhabitants of those planets also look like him. Cannot come to know the difference between them and the Supreme Lord. In the spiritual world, there are 5 kinds of liberation. Sayujya Mukti is a form of liberation in which one merges into the impersonal existence of the Supreme Lord called Brahman. So 5 kinds of liberation. Bhagavatam we have been reading that. There's one liberation which is called Sayujya Mukti, in which the soul merges into the Brahmajyoti, in the light, in the Brahmajyoti. That's called the Brahman. Another form of liberation is Sarupya Mukti, by which one receives features exactly like God's. So Sarupya means they look like God himself. Krishna is so kind. He says, you want to look like me? Sure, you can look like me. Come. You want to look like my Narayan form? Come to the Vaikuntha planets. You want to look like a cowherd boy like I look? Krishna's friends look like him, They dress opulently like him. They also have their flutes. So that's Sarupya Mukti. Another is Salokya Mukti, by which one can live in the same planet with God. So Krishna is keeping on inviting in the Bhagavad Gita also. He's saying, come live in my abode, come. Once you come there, you don't have to come back to the material world. That is living on the same planet. By Sarshti Mukti, one can have opulences similar to the Supreme Lord's. Someone will say, Krishna is so rich, God is so rich, I want to be as rich as God. Yeah, come. God is inviting. He's saying, come. I'll give you the same rich opulence as I have. You want my knowledge? What do you want? I can give you similar opulence. Another type enables one to remain always with God as one of his associates, just like Arjuna, who's always with Krishna as his friend. So always being with Krishna. One can have any of these 5 forms of liberation, but of the 5, the Sayujya Mukti, merging with the impersonal aspect, is not accepted by Vaishnava devotees. So although there are these 5 kinds of liberation, the Vaishnavas, they do not accept merging in the Brahman as actually liberation. because they know it's a temporary position and they don't want it because Krishna is not there in his personal form. That's the reason. A Vaishnava wishes to worship God as he is and retain his separate individuality to serve him, whereas the Mayavadi impersonal philosopher wishes to lose his individuality and merge into the existence of the Supreme. This merging is recommended neither by Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita nor by the disciplic succession of Vaishnava philosophers. So we may think that I want to merge into the Supreme Brahman and then I will become Brahman, my Supreme Brahman myself. But that is not what is said by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, nor by the Vaishnavas. The Vaishnavas want to have a personal relationship with Krishna. And Krishna is also saying that come into the spiritual world and have a loving relationship with me. That's what we are, the whole Bhagavatam is about that. We are reading these stories, they're of Satyug, they're of ancient times, but it's all about this loving relationships between Krishna and his devotee. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote on this subject in his Shikshashtaka 4, Nadanam na janam na sundarim tavitamba jagad isha kamaye mama janmani janma ishware bhavatad bhaktir ahai tukitoi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor have I any desire to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is that I may have your causeless devotional service in my life, birth after birth. This is what Lord Chaitanya is saying, that a pure devotee, he prays that. So, O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor have I any desire to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is that I may have your causeless devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Now we may say, but I'm not on this position. Never mind, we still continue to chant Hare Krishna. We go back to the first verse, the beginning of the Shikshastaka, Cheto Darpana Marjana. The very first thing that happens by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, all that our heart gets cleansed of all material desires. We just continue to chant, hear and chant and hear and chant. Are there any questions or comments? So we'll just finish with this. What Lord Chaitanya, here Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refers to birth after birth. When there is birth after birth, there is no liberation. In liberation, one either attains the spiritual planets or merges into the existence of the Supreme. In either case, there is no question of rebirth into the material world. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't care whether he's liberated or not. His only concern is to be engaged in Krishna consciousness, to serve the Supreme Lord. The devotee doesn't care where he is, nor does he care whether he's born in the animal society, human society, demigod society, or whatever. He only prays to God that he not forget him and that he always be able to engage in his transcendental service. These are symptoms of pure devotion. Of course, a devotee, wherever he is, remains in the spiritual kingdom, even while in this material body. But he does not demand anything from God for his own personal elevation or comfort. So this verse that Lord Chaitanya is saying is a pure devotee. So a devotee, pure devotee, he's saying birth after birth. So his concern is that I don't want liberation. I don't want anything. I just want to serve you. But we have to understand that the pure devotee is already in the spiritual kingdom. His consciousness is completely Krishna conscious. He's already understood, I'm Brahman. So he's already liberated. That's why he's not asking for these things. He's just telling Krishna, I want to serve you. That's all he wants. But he's liberated. He's a Jivan Mukta. Now, why is he saying that? Because he does not want to demand anything from Krishna. He understands I'm a servant of Krishna. I need to serve him. But he's experiencing highest bliss. He's not suffering as we are suffering. We are like, oh my God, take birth again, again and again, become old and disease and death. No way. But the pure devotee is able to speak like this because he's already beyond all this birth, death. His consciousness is completely pure. He's completely established in his relationship with Krishna. So he's already in the spiritual kingdom. Wherever he is, when Prabhupada was here in New York, the devotees were telling Prabhupada, oh, we are sorry, it's so dirty here. Prabhupada said, I'm not seeing any dirt, I'm in Vrindavan. So that's the pure devotee. So we'll stop here for today. Was it all right? Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for listening and joining.